Happy lunch hour, gang. Okay, yes, pardon my appearance. It's hot, I'm sweaty, and yes, I've been working. Go figure. Okay. So I got a question for you. How broke, really broke, is our federal government? Okay. Now we could say we're $34 trillion in debt. That's the official number that they report. Y'all know as well as I do, it's probably somewhere closer to 120 trillion. But so a question came up on the live stream last night, and somebody asked me if I heard about postal employees not getting paid. And no, I hadn't. And I said I would go check it out. And I did. Okay. So I went this morning and talked to a postal employee that I know. I will not reveal their name. Obviously, I don't want to jeopardize their job. And I asked what was going on. And they told me, yes, it was true. However, here's the deal. Okay, now first off, as the person said yesterday, rural carriers. And this was correct. I live in a rural area, so figured I got a good chance of getting the right answer. And they pulled out a piece of paper to tell me that there were 13 people in my postal district, if you want to call it, that did not get paid last payday. They would be allowed to take a 65% advance on their paycheck. I love how that one came out first. It was an advance on money they've already earned. That's government accounting for you. Okay. So who did it affect? Well, it affected rural carrier associates. Okay. And so I asked us, okay, how does this all work? And I'm going to try to give this to you quick here. All right. So the person who has the permanent route is your rural carrier. They are a postal employee. The rural carrier associate is the part-timer, the backfiller, whatever. Your regular mail carrier goes on vacation. The rural carrier associate is the one who fills in and delivers the mail at that time. Okay? These people are not postal employees. Okay? They are basically temps. Okay? And everybody who is a postal employee on a rural route at least, has to start as an RCA. And then when a position comes open, they can bid for the position. Okay, I'll work for this little amount of money to take that route and become a permanent employee. So whoever's the lowest bidder gets the route. And then, of course, you could be an RCA for years and years and years and years and years before, if nobody retires, nobody quits, nobody does anything, you don't get benefits. You don't get the 401k plan. I asked, they don't have a pension plan anymore. Okay, you don't get health insurance, medical, anything like that. You're a temp. Those are the people that got the opportunity to get an advance of 65%. As this person told me, a lot of people don't take the advance because the last time something like this happened, they felt they got shortchanged when they got it back. Because you know damn well the government probably charged them interest on the advance of the money they've already earned and they didn't pay. Okay. So I said, what caused this? And the answer I got was a payroll glitch. Now that should scare the hell out of everybody. When the U.S. government, who runs the post office, okay, doesn't have an efficient payroll system. My guess, and I kind of joked with them, I said, oh, so basically what you're telling me is they didn't have the money. And she just kind of rolled her eyes and smirked. Okay, yeah, so they got an idea real quick. So what happens when other programs like the Postal Service don't have enough money? What happens when our drastically underpaid young enlisted guys on welfare or WIC, what happens when the military doesn't get their paycheck? What happens when those on Social Security don't get their check? I told you last week that now over 2/3 of the country is living paycheck to paycheck. Somehow, some way, including people making over $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. I guess it's a little more difficult to afford those T-bones and lobsters and that payment on the Mercedes, when, the economy gets tough. But have you planned for that? How broke is our government? There's going to be a day, you know it, I know it, and everybody else in this country knows it. There's just 81 million of them that refuse to admit it, okay, that the government can't pay the bills. And as interest rates keep going up and up and up for you and me, interest rates keep going up and up and up for the government, for Joe's administration, to borrow money from China, Japan, whoever else is foolish enough to loan it to us. We're paying off the debt now, the government is, that they borrowed at 1 and 1.5%, and reaccumulating new debt at 5, 6, 7%. Can you see how that's going to be a problem? Instead of you borrow $100, you got to pay $101 back. Borrow $100, now you got to pay $106 back this year. Except now add a few zeros to that, like 9 of them, for what the government's got to do. And suddenly that 1 to 6 is a lot bigger number that's coming out and coming from somewhere. Your pocket, my pocket, in taxes. So their choices are either to increase taxes or reduce services. Well, going into an election year, increasing taxes isn't a great idea. Ask George H.W. Bush about that one. Okay, remember, read my lips, no new taxes. Oops, raise taxes. Guess what? Got your ass handed to you in the next election. So Joe can't do that. So what's he going to do? He's reducing services to the point where we can't pay federal employees. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. People collect child support, police, national parks, the military, CIA, FBI. Not that I care about the FBI getting defunded. God knows they can't do their job anyway. All these talks about candidates that are, promises they're making. And you've got to remember, this is promise season. Every candidate promises you the world and delivers practically nothing except one president. Okay, at least recently. I'm going to defund the Department of Education. I'm going to defund the Department of Justice. I'm going to defund this, that, and the other thing. Yeah. They may not have to do it. The government doesn't have the money to pay it. We cut the post office. We can cut the temps' pay at the post office, postal workers, right? Yeah, if we lose them, okay, fine, so be it. Until it winds up the permanent employees at the post office. And as this person I spoke with said, I don't get a paycheck. I don't come to work. And I agree. I'm not going to work for free. IOUs from the government, sorry, that doesn't fly for me, okay? I can't go to the electric company and say, well, Uncle Sam gave me an IOU, I'm going to pay with this. The grocery store is not going to accept an IOU from me. Okay. It's coming. Whether or not you care to believe it, they can call it a payroll glitch all they want. It's the freaking U.S. government You think their computer system, their payroll system would work. How many people on the U.S. government payroll? Too many, if you ask me. Yeah. But do we need the post office? Yeah, it's kind of helpful. Okay, pay a bill. I mean, granted, some of us do a lot of that online. Some don't. Okay. You want to ship something to somebody? Post office, UPS, FedEx. As I've said many times here over the last few weeks, okay, it's amazing how FedEx and UPS can turn a profit. The post office can't. Apparently, the post office can't turn enough of a profit so they can meet payroll. How's your company doing? Think about that. Any of us can walk in most any of us can walk into work on Thursday and think all things are hunky-dory, and Friday morning we come in and go, oh, by the way, today's your last day. Have a nice day. But we want you to work the rest of the day. I'm sorry, they've done that to me before, and I left. They're like, where are you going? You're supposed to work the rest of the day. I'm like, no, sorry. You had no loyalty to me. I'm gone. I'm going to go spend the rest of the day finding another job. Okay. That's kind of how that one works. But this is what's coming. A lot of people fail to see this. A lot of people fail to acknowledge that this is really happening. But it's really happening, guys. And when the government collapses, which we all know is coming, the U.S. economy is about to collapse. We need disinflation big time, or deflation, whatever you want to call it, because people can't afford to live. But how much faster does it happen when there is no paycheck anymore? Pinball out.